What an interesting conversation we've been having. All of the comments that have come through with regard to this. It's pretty much so about ministerial appointments and talking about the fact that is it time that we move away from granting people the position of a ministerial position in a big department just because of their credentials in terms of struggle credentials and things that they have done? Or should it be at a point where now we actually implement people and put people in positions, in ministerial positions, where they actually have the qualifications to run these departments and have studied to do this? So let's have a look at what you think and what you're suggesting. Here are the comments that have come out. Lechasa saying, I think criminal records should be checked. Qualifications should be checked. All right, there we go. Thank you for writing into us. Michael was a metaphor, I think. It sends a message that we don't have to study and we just need to join a party and we'll be rewarded. I don't get how a teacher gets to be the Minister of Sport. And I wonder what happened to that minister who lied about having a doctorate. Hashtag we are tired. Vusi K saying, Leanne, it's a no-brainer that if you lead an organization, you should surround yourself with staff that complement your weaknesses. And this should be no different in government. Maite, education transforms people, and the best leaders should have one. Philip Barnes, I agree. A degree in the field, technical skills, knowledge, vital for appointment of these ministers. Carmo M saying, there is no better criterion than having qualified people running those ministries. Amos, people got positions in government because of the contribution they made to the struggle. This must be done away with. We end up with dead wood. And finally, Free Palestine saying the DA should have supported the EFF's motion, on the expropriation of land without compensation. That's a different conversation. But thank you very much for writing into us. I know there were a couple of tweets that came in about that conversation as well. But we, at the moment, focusing in on the qualifications of ministers. So let me once again introduce you to our guest, just in case you are tuning in now. Chris Marimacha, he's from SANCO. He's the chair for the Gauteng the provincial SANCO department. And, of course, TK Pua, who is a public policy specialist and also wrote an article and column on this particular topic that we're having right now. I want to get back to SANCO now. And SANCO, of course, you're basically, you're a civil society group and you're meant to represent the people. And a lot of people feel that it's compromised because of your close relationship with the ANC, and it can't really be seen vehemently going against the ANC in its policies and its decisions. What is your comment about that?
I think that is a very wrong notion to say we are close to the ANC and we cannot say no in case things are not going. Remember when there's plenary, where there are conferences, we are part and parcel of that. So it will be very naive for us to come out of the conference that we are part and parcel of it when we're doing this planning, come and be opposite to that. The other thing that I think I must correct here, which was said earlier on, is the question of NDP.
Yeah.
This is the vision of the movement, and any liberation movement has to have a vision to its own people for people to understand on it. We can't try by time and again want to create another China in Africa. And I must take this minute to clarify this. The very same China which is assumed to be running the best administration, their prime minister is currently intending to extend his stay in the office. Yeah. Then you ask yourself, what kind of constitution are they using that? But what I'm trying to say is that our vision as the NDP is that the only thing that lacks, that we must, all of us acknowledge, is that maybe the players to achieve it are a bit weak. The only thing that we need to is to improve on them. The other thing that needs to be put on is the structuring of the very same plan. To say, with the time frames, to say, after these 2-3 months, we want to see this has been achieved. After 6 months, this has been achieved. After a year, the following has been achieved. In the very same NDP, should we be able to master that particular aspect, it's a very good super vision that the country is going to change. Yeah. Then, let's be clear here. We as SANCO, we are part and parcel of this alliance. Therefore, if the ANC is doing wrong, nothing stops SANCO to go to public and say, we are not happy with this. Nothing stops us to do that. But in many cases, whatever that is done is after we have agreed as collective and we go out. If we can give a typical example, we were very much vocal when we were dealing with the state capture. We never shut our mouth because these Guptas were massacring the country. We never said the policy on the industry, on the mines were right. We never supported the charter of Msebenzi Zwane. We never did that. So time and again, people will look on something that can attach and try to associate that with. Yeah. But I'm telling you that as part and parcel of Alliance, many things, in particular the policies, the planning, the conference, we are together and we have robust discussion around whatever that decision will come around.
You were quite interesting a bit earlier. You actually said something off air which made me giggle. In fact, it made TK and myself giggle because I said, there were a couple of ministerial appointments. I mean, how do you do this, in not necessarily during this reshuffle, but previously? How do you put them in those positions? Your automatic reaction was, forget about those years. Let's forget about them and write them off because they were wrong. Now that is a big statement to make on behalf of SANCO. And I know you're saying that you were very, very vocal, but we allowed this to continue for 10 years. So you were also seeing the rot.
No, remember the previous administration had no space for alliance. The man in charge, in particular the outgone president, in many cases, he built power around himself. He was doing without any consultation. Therefore, we made noise, like SACP, we made noise, like COSAT, we made noise. But what was happening is that he was still in charge. You will remember in May when he's doing this reshuffling, he never consulted anyone. Prior that, he never consulted anyone. So, of course, in public, it appears as if maybe we didn't want to challenge him. We challenged him. Even the current, what you call reshuffle, Cyril Ramaphosa and his team consulted us. And he told us why he's arriving at these particular decisions. Why
has he arrived at certain decisions? Because there's questions on those. And I mean, I think the fact that we're talking about the departments now and the ministries, I would like to ask you, I mean, so many people questioning, why Bathabile Dlamini? Yes, she is the ANC Women's League. Is that a compromised position? Nomvula Makunyane, we've seen what's happened at the water. She's now in charge of communications. Why that appointment? There are quite a few.
You see, I think we must say this way, man. No one is perfect. No one is perfect in this world. His vision might be to say, I don't want to see a situation where, as if I'm getting rid of those who were on the other side going to Nazareth, around that and say, no, let me take those so that they can learn from their own mistakes. But all in all, let me be honest. We are not happy with Bathabile after she has messed up the SASA. We are not happy. And now she's promoted one way or another, given such a ministerial post to deal with women, children and disability. But we think she might change. But anyway, we are not happy. Then, of course, you cannot finish all the monies in the water and come and want to be in here where we know you are just from the hospital, when, if we were to put it that way. Yeah. You are from the ICU. You deserve to get somebody who will change this situation forever. But we are not sure. Of course, I'm not doubting this credibility as the minister, Nomvula, but the experience tells me that where she's coming from, she has messed up. It's a fact. Have messed up. Why she now come to a patient which is just one step away from the ICU? I think that the president himself must really have to watch the space. Otherwise, we might see this SABC going down the drain again.
Let's not go there.
No,
TK, we're doing so well. Let's not go there. TK, people are human and they make mistakes. Is that good enough?
No.
Because we're running a country here. No, this is not a. We're not in the restaurant where the waiter dropped the plate.
I think
this is a country.
You see, that's what I said. There's also a false dichotomy of saying that's how it seems to work in the alliance. And I want to actually go back to the early years of the ANC. The first 12 presidents, I have to say, first 12, were actually all extraordinary human beings. I'm talking about Pixie Kasema, who studied in, if I'm not mistaken, the same university in the States Barack Obama went to. He studied in Oxford. And there was always a belief that the best among us should lead.
Yes.
But it would seem as though, as the years have gone by, this excuse of we're not humans we're just
We
human.
are humans
has
and make
started to go
mistakes.
up. If I had to use, I think in economics we use the curve, it's the Phillips curve of saying, well, where do they meet exactly? So which just says to me, we've met at a point of mediocrity. And rather than acknowledging that we are mediocre, because that's what this government really has been, because I always ask the question, I've worked on the farm as just a laborer. And the question always, when I went for an interview working on the farm was, what value are you going to bring? I can tell you the value these ministers have not brought. Look at SASA. And then you're going to say, it's not, no, I'm just human. Well, some of us who've had grandmothers who had to go to these lines, what's the value there? And you say, I'm not human. You're earning $1 million. I'm just living off a grant.
Yeah.
What about education? What about economics? I mean, my thing is I come from the township in Everton here. When you have to go drive past there and you see unemployment, and and you just speak to people, basically their dreams have been dashed, and you say, you're not human, then the point is to say, what type of government? And this is why I'm going to defend the Chinese government. I think we have to get over our sensibilities about what it means to be democratic. Because the Chinese people are not idiotic. It's actually one of the most highly educated nations in the world. Hence, the American government actually poaches some of their best, but they still go back to China. So the question is why? And it's this plain issue. China in the 1950s and 60s, they used to be called the sick man of Asia, which was to say they were the worst. No one wanted anything from China. And they said, listen, we cannot keep living in abject poverty. Poverty is undignified.
Yeah.
There comes a point where we need to say, we want to be something in the society. And they made what is termed a dramatic decision to say, only the best should lead us. So I have to explain, selection with election basically means you will never, ever be a cabinet minister in China without having proven that you lead a province. Now, just think about it. South Africa is 55 million, right? Now, what's the province of where Beijing is the capital? It could be 55 million. It always says you need to have shown us that you are the best at that. Now, the Prime Minister speaks about is not president. Prime Minister and president are two different things in China. And the Prime Minister is speaking about is Ling Chiqing. Li Chiqing holds a doctorate and a double master's in economics. His job is actually to lead the NDP in China. That's his single job as in it. And the reason why the Chinese government is changing tact at the moment, because they've said, listen, for the last 30 years, we've actually been using engineers as ministers, meaning we need quick economic development. We're now at the stage of our economic development where the questions of what do you as a human want? If you're a woman in China, what are your priorities? Hence, you've seen they went from one-child policy to saying you can have many. So as society changes, as the needs of society changes, the management of the country changes. And if you don't like China, go look at Singapore. Singapore is more ruthless. The president is termed the CEO, and he has a board. And they always make decisions of 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So are you saying in South Africa that, you know what, we're so substandard in our thinking, and we accept mediocrity so easily?
And we're really not, because we export, and I say export, some of the greatest minds and talent because they're underutilized here. I'm looking at the time. I don't know if we can go to the 8:30 news headlines. Do I need to wrap? I need to wrap. I can't ask this question. Because the question I was going to go to was, we've seen a shift in the president saying only qualified individuals will be made to run state-owned enterprises, and that is important. It should never have been otherwise. But, gentlemen, I don't know. We could carry on all day. Do you want to come to my house for coffee afterwards?
No,
we'll keep on talking. We'll maybe make a camera and chat about it. I have to leave it. Thank you. Really insightful conversation. We really appreciate, TK, your views. Thank you very, very much. And to you as well, Chris, thanks so much for chatting to us here on the programme. Your tweets, they came in fast and furiously, and we'll read some more for you during the course of the broadcast. Quick break. News headlines after this. Stay tuned.